But in this lesson, we want to understand what a function is, right? A function is a relationship between input and output values. Remember, the input values are the domain, and then the output values are the range, right? So a function is a relationship between input and output values where every element of the domain, the input values, is associated with only one element of the range, the output values. Right? What do I mean by that? Let's look at this example. Let's say y is equal to 2x. Y will be the output values, and then x is the input values. That's the domain, right? So let's say if x is equal to what? If x is equal to -1, it can only give us one value of y, which is -2, right? And then if x is, say, 0, 0 will only give us one y value, which is 0. And then if x is 1, it can only give us one y value, which is 2. You see that? So this is a function because every element of the domain is associated with only one element of the range. -1 is associated with -2. 0 with 0, 1 with 2, like that. You see that? So that's an example of a function. These functions, where every element is associated with only one element of the range, are called what? Are called one-to-one functions. Right. Right. For one-to-one functions, vertical and horizontal lines touch the graph once, like this. Y is equal to 2x is a straight line, isn't it? That passes through the origin. So the vertical line cut the graph once here, and then the horizontal line also will cut the graph once, like that. Okay, right? So these type of functions are referred to as one-to-one functions. Let's look at another type of functions. For a function, two or more input values may be associated with the same output value. How is that possible? Let's look at this example. Y is equal to x squared. Right, let's say, for example, we have the input value or the x value as -2. What will it give us? -2 squared will give us 4. Even 2 squared will give us 4. So 2 or more input values are giving us what? The same output value. This is still a function, right? So many x values give us one output value, one y value. So what we call these functions, we call them many to one functions, right? Vertical line casts the graph once for every x value, but a horizontal line casts the graph more than once at any point, like this. This is like the many-to-one function. If a vertical line casts the graph once, it means that it is what? It is a function. So that's why we use the vertical line test to test if a relation is a function or not. Because a horizontal line like this will cut the graph twice, isn't it? But this is still a function. So to test if a relation is a function or not, we use the vertical line test. I will show you at the end. Right, so these type of functions are referred to as many-to-one functions. Many x values to one y value. Graphs like cubic functions are also good examples of many-to-one functions. Right. If one element of the domain, that's the input values, is associated with more than one element of range. Now, you see that one element of domain associated with more than one element of range, then the relation is not a function. Like this one, it's not a function because one element of the domain will give us two elements of range. Like, for example, what's the square root of 4? Square root of 4 can be -2, can be +2. So we have two elements of the range coming from one element of the input. So this is not a function. And you can also use the vertical line test. See that? And then if you draw the vertical line, cast the graph twice. And then it's not a function. Actually, let me show you how we use the vertical line test. Vertical line test may be used to confirm if a relation is a function or not, right? So if a vertical line cuts the graph once, any part of the graph, then the relation is a function. If the vertical line cuts the graph once in any part of the graph, then the relation is a function. Like this one, any part of the graph, any part of the graph, the vertical line will cut the graph once. If the vertical line cuts the graph more than once, then the relation is not a function, like this one. You see that? Cuts more than once. There, and there. So this is not a function. Okay. So we use the vertical line test to test if a relation is a function or not. That's why a circle is not a function, because the vertical line will cut it twice.